Hey guys, I'm Ted and welcome back to our lecture series. This isn't the lecture, this is the Fat Fact. For this Fat Fact, we're going to discuss George Custer and Little Bighorn. Now, um, George Custer was a Civil War veteran. He has served during the Civil War. He was a very interesting character. He's known for really being he was known for being at the bottom of his class at West Point. He went by the nickname Jack, which is an acronym of his name, George Armstrong Custer, GAC. Um, uh, he first attained prominence during the United States Civil War, fighting for the United States Army against the Confederate States. He was breveted as a major general in the United States Army during the Civil War, and was quite popular amongst his cavalry troops, and was noted for his on the field bravery. Um, After the Civil War, he was sent out west, where he spent a number of discontented years on the plains. He was intensely disliked by his men for his vanity and his unpleasantness out in the West. Now, Custer inadvertently set off a gold rush in the Dakota Black Hills. When he was on an expedition, he found that the local Sioux people were wearing gold trinkets. Now, Custer favored a no compromise policy with the Native Americans. He was very anti-Native, um, and he became the target of a large gathering of Native Americans under the command of Sitting Bull, a leader of the Sioux, who had a premonition of a great victory. In this premonition, in the prophetic vision, he saw hundreds of United States soldiers falling into his camp. And that leads us to perhaps the event that's most well known or most associated with Custer, and that would be Little Bighorn. Little Bighorn was a battle fought between the United States military, the cavalry, under George Custer, and roughly 2,000 Sioux warriors. Uh, Custer was, of course, defeated. He had been warned multiple times that that there was a large native group in the area, that he should retreat, that he should not engage them. But Custer did not heed the warnings. He grossly underestimated the ability of his men to fight, and he grossly underestimated the ability of the natives to oppose him. Uh, little Little Bighorn was very unique in the history of the battles between the native peoples of the Americas and the United States. Um, One was that so many different groups had united to oppose settler expansion. It was a very humiliating defeat for the United States. Little Bighorn occurred in 1876. 1876 was the centennial anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Um, Also, Little Bighorn proved to be the last the last battlefield victory for Native Americans. Indeed, Little Bighorn was the last major battle fought by Native Americans and United States forces. Um, and it was very bittersweet because no sooner had the battle been won, and got back to the United States, did the victors had to disperse. The Native Americans of the plains were all hunters and gatherers. They could not stay in one area for long. Always had to go out and hunt and forage for supplies. They were not sedentary people with one central location to fall back upon. They were roamers. They frequently were in motion. Now, Custer's defeat uh, set off a rush, a panic in the United States to launch a blistering campaign against the natives. And this campaign was really take no prisoners, no holds barred, the type of campaign that Custer would have advocated and would have approved of. But it should be noted that in the immediate aftermath of his defeat, Custer was blamed. Little Bighorn was seen as a disaster, not a disaster caused by sneaky or unchivalrous or untrustworthy Native Americans, but a disaster because Custer was simply an inept commander. That opinion held for a while, but Custer was the beneficiary of a very, very successful public relations campaign led by his wife. His wife sort of spearheaded this this complete uh, this just complete sort of rethinking, reevaluation of Custer had the man, had the commander, and Little Bighorn had the battle of significance. She painted Custer as this brave, intrepid fighter who bravely led his men against the odds in an effort to sacrifice their lives to allow other people the opportunity to live. He painted them as this noble figure facing this onslaught of this uncivilized horde, which really wasn't the case. Custer was he was incompetent, and he was warned, and he did not heed the warnings. He had a very undeserved complex about himself. He had this savior complex that he would be able to make it, and that nobody else would. That tragically led to his death and the death of all the men under his command. But the view of Custer had this brave hero, had this American hero, persists, and it persists down to the day. His wife, as I said, was very successful. She was very successful in getting politicians and lobbying politicians and public opinion to swing in favor of Custer. And even today, Custer and Custer's Last Stand are hallmark events in American mythology. Well, there you guys have it. That is my fast fact on Custer and Little Bighorn. Hit like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you thought about it. Hit dislike, I guess, if you are a fan of George Custer and don't like what I said. But provide some feedback. I'll be really interested. I'm always interested to know how other people react and how they respond to what I say about some of the more well-established elements of American mythology, of the sort of established idea or perception of the United States. And as always, I am Ted. Hit like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what you thought about this.